Hey sister, I don't know about you, but if you're anything like me, then your mornings probably feel super chaotic, even when you're trying to be organized. In today's podcast, I'm going to talk about how to streamline those mornings, how to make them easier, and take one thing off your plate when it comes to choosing your clothes so that you don't have to make this decision every single morning and feel stressed out about it. Hey there, lovely. Welcome to the Radiantly Dressed podcast. Do you want to feel beautiful and confident and look put together in your clothes? Do you find yourself scrolling Pinterest looking for capsule wardrobes and outfit ideas? Do you walk into your closet hoping for an easy wardrobe solution only to feel frustrated and frumpy when nothing looks or feels like you want it to? Hey there, I'm Stacy. I'm a busy homeschooling mom juggling life, business, and struggling with autoimmune disease. Just like you, I felt overwhelmed and frustrated with my closet and wished I had an easy-to-put-together wardrobe that reflected who I am on the inside, the woman that God is constantly refining. But I just could not figure out how to have easy mornings and authentic style until I found the power of color analysis and capsule wardrobes. In this podcast, you'll find how to wear and use your best colors, a proven framework to create an easy closet full of clothes you love, and how to do it all in a way that honors who God created you to be so that frumpy fashion doesn't get in the way of your faith and mission. So put in your favorite earrings, swipe on some lipstick, and let's get dressed. Are you interested in capsule wardrobes, but you're having a hard time translating that into your actual closet? Do you want to know the tips and secrets and tricks from somebody who struggled for years with a capsule wardrobe, but finally figured out by adopting my own process that I would love to share with you? If you want to create a capsule wardrobe that makes your life simpler, then I invite you to join us on November 17th for the Sailing into Style Capsule Wardrobe Workshop. This is a free event. It will be 2, maybe 3 hours, jam-packed, full of amazing content to help you get on the path to creating your capsule wardrobe, figure out a plan, and make it work for you. I would love to see you there. Please click the link below to join our Capsule Wardrobe Workshop on November 17th at 10 a.m. Central Time. Can't wait to see you. Hey there, busy woman. It's time to talk about our mornings. Before we get into this, I just want to say that I definitely consider myself to be a morning person. I am definitely somebody who would rather get up early than stay up late at night. I have more energy at the beginning of the day. I am in a better mood at the beginning of the day. I often laughingly joke that from 6 o'clock to bedtime, I'm literally just trying to keep everyone alive. And that is literally the maximum amount of effort that I have. So my advice today is coming to you from somebody who is a morning person. I know probably half of you are not, and hate your mornings. And so I just want to share with you that the struggles that I'm going to be talking about today aren't specific to people who are night people, who are not morning people. Even those of us that enjoy the mornings and are at our freshest and best in the mornings still struggle with these things, because the truth is that choosing our clothes can be easy or it can be hard. And if it's hard for you, it's probably because you're expending way too much energy on this, morning person or not. So today, I really want to dig into this concept a little bit more and try to help you find some ways to make it simpler so your mornings can be smoother and more peaceful, and you can get on with your day faster instead of standing in your closet for way too long, feeling super frustrated and still ending up feeling frumpy and bleh at the clothes that you chose for that day. So a little bit of background information here. I am a night shift wife. I have been a night shift wife for the full 10, almost 11 years of my marriage. My husband worked the night shift when I met him, and that is just how it has always been in our marriage. Honestly, at this point, it's a great thing for us because he comes home in the morning and he's able to manage and help with some of our younger kids while I do school with our older kids. It means he's available more days off during parts of the week so we can go do fun activities when all the other kids are in school. So like if we go to a jumping place with our kids, we have the place to ourselves basically. It just allows us a lot of freedom as a family. And I've adapted at this point. So it would be so weird to me if my husband had a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. I think I would lose my mind a little bit because he has actually worked a few days that schedule and it just feels terrible. But the funny thing is, and this is maybe slightly, I don't know, very, very old school. I don't know if you've ever seen those magazine clippings from like the 40s or the 50s that give advice for how to be a good wife. And I'm not going to get into the rights and wrongs and pros and cons of something from, half a century ago. But I do want to say that I always remember there's something on there that says that when your husband gets home, you should be dressed and you should, fluff your hair or freshen your lipstick. Basically that you should just look fresh when your husband gets home, right? And let me tell you something. As a night shift wife whose husband gets home around 8 o'clock in the morning, that's a tough call sometimes. Especially, I am about to have my 7th baby and my sleep has been chaotic and unpredictable for the last decade. Some nights it's great, some nights it's not. And so trying to be dressed and ready by 8 o'clock every single day when you don't have to leave the house and don't have to be anywhere, is hard. Like for those of you that have to get kids to school or go to work, like, man, I sympathize with you. Truly, I do, because, I would be a hot mess. But I will say that as my kids have gotten older, we've gotten much more predictable with our schooling schedule. We try not to fly by the seat of our pants. And so honestly, my mornings, I do need to be functional by 8:30 is kind of my cutoff. That's when we start our morning time for school. And so that's when I need to be ready for my day. And what this looks like sometimes is just a quick overview of my morning routine, if you really want to know. I usually wake up and do some Bible study and some prayer time. Some days it's like 5 minutes and some days it's like 45 minutes. It just depends on, how the littles have slept and how I've slept and everything else. But then I usually get up and I get dressed, unless it's a shower day, which is a completely chaotic day that I'm not even going to talk about. But I get up and I get dressed, and then I go into the living room and I sit down and I brain dump my stuff for the day that I need to do. And then at 7:30, I know that my husband's going to be home in 30 minutes. So at 7:30, I get up and I start breakfast. So that leaves me from, I have basically till 7:30 to get dressed, because once he runs in the door, it's just breakfast, and then the kids want to hang out, and then it's time to do school. So I have to, 8:30 is like the latest cutoff. If I don't manage to get up super early and I don't get dressed before he gets home, take me away, 1950s wife, whatever. But I definitely will do it after breakfast, between him getting home and starting school. So for me, 8:30 is the cutoff that I have to be dressed and ready for my day. But I also want you to know that even though this is my rule, that has not always been the case. I have over the years stayed in pajamas way too many times, not gotten dressed for multiple reasons. I didn't feel like it, didn't like my clothes, didn't want to make a decision, all these different things. Which brings me to why sometimes we don't want to get dressed. So there's this statistic that says that the average woman, so average, right? Like right in the middle, average, could be less, could be more, but this is the average, spends 17 minutes deciding what to wear every day, every single day, 17 minutes. And I can't even imagine it being more than that. Like the thought of somebody spending more than 17 minutes doing this just blows my mind, to be honest. That's a lot of time. I think if you do the math, it adds up to well over 100 hours a year, which is a huge waste of our potential, of our time, that is so valuable and so fleeting when you think about it, that we are potentially wasting this much time getting dressed. And I don't know if I've ever spent 17 minutes deciding what to wear. Maybe when I was in my 20s and it was like my friends and I were going to go out or something, I might have taken that time. I do recall spending mornings going through multiple outfits, though, where you would put something on and throw it on the floor and then put something else on and throw it on the floor. Maybe you're more organized and you hung it back up. But for me, I would just throw it on the floor or in a heap somewhere on the bed, on the floor, wherever. And I call this the discarded pile of frustration, because you put it on and it just feels wrong, right? And so you try again and you try again. And eventually you realize that you are running out of time, that you have to be wherever it is that you're going, whether it's cooking breakfast or you have to be out the door to go to work or your kid has to be to school. You realize that you're out of time and you're stuck and you're wearing whatever you're wearing, no matter how it makes you feel, because you couldn't make a decision, because decision making was difficult. And having said that, I would really like to share with you 3 pretty quick tips here for the things that have helped me to stop with this cycle of frustration and decision making. I now choose my clothes in about 2 minutes. That's about how long it takes me. It takes me probably less time to choose than it does to actually put them on my body as I walk around and answer everyone's questions about the day, and gather things from places that aren't always in the same room. It probably takes me longer to wrap my hair than it does to get dressed and choose my clothes. Definitely takes me longer to do that. And so this process is really fast for me. And the first tip that I have for you is to take that time that you're decision making, you're choosing, and move it to the night before. To go ahead, because here's the thing, you're already in the storage space of your clothes. Likely you're already in there because you're changing out of whatever you wore yesterday into your pajamas. Unless you're, completely chaotically unorganized like me, and maybe your pajamas are in a different room than your clothes, which they aren't actually, they're in the same place. Or maybe you didn't empty the dryer. Totally guilty on that one. Maybe your pajamas are in the dryer and your clothes go in the closet. I don't know. But typically you're going to be in the same room. And so what does it cost you? What does it take you to, at the end of the day, to go ahead and pick out what you're going to wear the next day? The great thing about this is that not only does it shift that decision making from first thing in the morning to the end of the day, but it also lets you assess the state of clothes that you're planning to wear, right? It allows you to pre-think also about the weather, about the events that you're attending, about what you're doing, about dressing for the occasion. But it also lets you look over the things that you pick and see, does it have a stain? Does it need to be washed? Does it need to be mended? Does it not fit you anymore? All of these things you can assess the night before so that when the morning comes, you're not blindsided by these surprises that are in your wardrobe. And sometimes I get some pushback when I say this and people tell me, well, I've tried that, but I don't always feel like wearing what I picked out when the next day comes. And usually that's because they've chosen something that was too complex and the day comes and it feels too hard. And I totally get this. I have days where what I've chosen to wear just doesn't really align with what the day holds for me. And so the next thing I'm going to tell you here is, if that is the case, the next best thing you can do is to own less. Because when that hits you, and it hits me sometimes, I will pick out a dress that has a fitted waist and the day comes and I'm like, nope, we're not wearing that today. We're not doing any squeezing of any parts of the body. We need something way more comfortable than that particular dress. So I turn around and I look at my closet. And even though I'm still having to make this decision again, I can guarantee you it's not going to take more than 3 to 5 minutes, even in the morning, even on a whim. Because when I turn around, I don't have 100, 150, 200 pieces of clothing to choose from. I have about 20 dresses. I actually counted them yesterday and I got 21. So I'm a little over my goal right now, but it's maternity time. Things are a little crazy. But I literally have 21 dresses to choose from. And maybe some of you are thinking, wow, that's a lot of dresses to choose from, but it's really not, because the reality is that like 4 of them are the same and another 4 of them are the same and another 4 of them are the same. And 3 of them are fancy and not really everyday dresses. And so really, I don't have a ton of choices. I have like 1 style, 2 styles, or 3 styles. And so I'm going to turn around and I'm going to choose them. Everything in my closet is carefully curated by color, by style. It all matches. It all goes together. And this is one of the things that's amazing about minimizing your wardrobe and creating a capsule, is that you just have less to choose from. I don't know if you've ever talked to your husband about going to a restaurant and he's like, I don't know, babe, pick whatever you want. And you've got 50, 60 restaurants to choose from. We live outside of Houston, so we have a lot. You have a ton of restaurants to choose from. It's almost impossible to make a decision. And so sometimes I'll tell my husband, why don't you give me 2 choices and I'll just pick one? And the reality is that our brain functions so much better when we have a smaller pool to choose from. And that is what owning less in your wardrobe can give to you. My final tip for you, and this goes hand in hand with what I was saying about owning less, because this is how I own less, is to wear the same thing. When you heard me kind of going through my 20 dresses, you may have heard me say, I have 4 of one dress and 4 of another dress and 3 of another dress, right? And this is really, really true. This is how my wardrobe functions. I do wear only dresses. I typically order them all from the same place. And when I order them, I order 3 to 4 colors in the same exact style. because it makes getting dressed so easy for me, because I know that dress A, we'll call it dress A in 4 different colors, goes with cardigan style A in 2 different colors. So all I have to do is grab one of each, and there's no thought about whether this top looks good with this bottom, or whether this cut of pants looks good with this sweater. Like, I don't have to make those decisions. And I'm not saying you need to go to a dress-based wardrobe to get this kind of outcome, but wearing the same thing, and when I say the same thing, I mean the same silhouette of clothing. Wearing the same style of clothing every single day, changing up the colors, changing up the prints, changing up your accessories and your shoes and your jewelry gives you so much freedom, gives you back time, and it gives you back your sanity, to be honest, because we should not have to stand in our closet for 17 minutes every day trying to figure out what to wear. That's a ridiculous amount of time. That is time being stolen from your life, which is infinitely more important than the clothes you're wearing, the people in it, which are, irreplaceably more important than the things that you're wearing. It's funny because the other day I was sitting down and I was thinking back through my journey, and I was thinking back through the first time I discovered capsule wardrobes, because someone had asked me, like, why did you do this? I think I was actually working on some marketing stuff. And so I was just going through the questions about the whys. And I thought to myself, why was I so intrigued by this concept? I had one kid. I had like 20, maybe 30 items of clothing anyways. Things weren't super complicated to me. And I'm like, why was I so intrigued by this concept then that it's become this guiding light to my closet and like formed a business? It just seems kind of crazy sometimes when I think about it, but what was it that pulled me in? And it has to be just the simplicity of having less and getting more out of it. Of just being free to truly love the things in your closet and to be happy with what you're putting on your body, to not be able to, or to be able to not focus on your flaws and your perceived flaws, but just to get dressed and live your life and not let your clothing or your style or how you feel about yourself be such a defining characteristic of how your day goes. And to me, that's really what all of this does. When we simplify, when we take the time to choose our clothes the night before, when we mindfully, start to cut things out, own less, when we go the full distance, the full Stacy distance, and you just start wearing the same thing all the time. Maybe not quite like Steve Jobs, but basically like Steve Jobs with a feminine twist, right? with some nice colors and some prints and some fun added in there. To just make it simple. And sometimes I think we just overcomplicate life, Sometimes I sit around and I think to myself, well, I want this or I want that, but really I just want my life to be simple and sweet and joyfully full of whatever God has for me. I don't want to be plagued with these kinds of decisions, and I don't want to be troubled by thoughts of myself that are negative. I just want to show up for my family, show up for my business, show up for the things that God is asking me to do in a way that makes space for what's important and allows me to get rid of the things that aren't. So I encourage you just to stop wasting your mornings. Stop feeling overwhelmed with this one thing that you can definitely shift to make easier. You can cut 15 minutes off of that, which I could get a calculator probably and do some math. I would bet 15 minutes a day is still over 100 hours. Take back 100 hours of your life every year. What does that sound like? What would you do with it, mate? 100 hours? Like, what would you do with 100 extra hours a year of your life? Surely it's not stand in your closet and fret and worry and be frustrated over the clothes that you wear.
Hey there, gorgeous. Before you go, if this episode inspired you and helped you to feel more confident, I'd love for you to leave me a written review on Apple Podcasts. Second, hop on over and join the free Facebook group at christianstylecommunity.com, where you'll find Jesus-loving women just like yourself learning about style and building a dream wardrobe. Get dressed, be radiant.